You know, folks, I don't know that I've ever shared this here on the channel, but it was 2 years ago on July 13th, 2023, that I walked away from my day job to do this full time. And then a year later, on July 13th, 2024, someone took a shot at Donald Trump. And now here we are, another year later, with this Epstein case just blowing wide open. And I tell you what, it is absolutely the busiest job that I have ever had in my life. I thought it would be easy. I thought, boy, I'm going to have it made. No, you're always on call, because even if you set a video to come out the next day, the stories are unraveling so fast that you almost can't. You have to stay on top of it. And so I will admit that there's a lot of times I'm one step behind because there's so much stuff happening and so much stuff I want to talk about. And I see so many people start off their videos by saying, the more Donald Trump tries to make this go away, the worse it looks for him. I've said that myself here on the channel. But what I would also like to point out is, and I'm not saying that he's guilty, but what I would like to point out is he's looked guilty this entire time. If there ever was a dude that absolutely looks the part based on everything that we've seen, it's definitely Donald Trump. So you may have already seen this video because I think it's already got like 3 million views over on YouTube. But if you've not seen it, go out of your way to find it. It's called Hidden Trump Videos Found by Meiselas as Secret Surface. And Ben Meiselas walks us through and shows us Donald Trump's past, videos that have resurfaced from his past, and walks us through it. And when you look at it from this angle, I don't see how anyone can watch this video and then say, oh yeah, he wasn't into none of that crooked stuff with it. He wasn't into none of that perverted stuff with Epstein. No, he was trying to expose him. Anyone that believes that, I've got a big ocean in my backyard here in East Tennessee. I'll be glad to sell you. But we're going to go over here and we're going to watch a little bit of this video. It's 19 minutes long, so we won't watch the whole thing. But I highly encourage that you go watch the whole thing, because I just think that people really need to understand what kind of man is now the leader of the free world, who should have never been back in there for another shot at this. It's absolutely insane that people was so hung up on Joe Biden's age and Kamala Harris's laugh that they elected this again. So here we go. I'm going to play you this video here. Then we'll just start right here at this part in the video where Ben is going back and showing some of the videos from Donald Trump's past.
All right, so let me share this with you. You have Donald Trump at this 1991 beauty pageant. Here are some of the photos that we have. You see him right here. The little girls would come into the room, again, mostly underage. They would come into the room in bathing suits, very little clothing, and he would sit there and he would judge them, and he would determine if they can make it through the next round. Here are some of the photos we've been able to identify. You can see Donald Trump right there looking at these girls who he made wear the bathing suits and kind of walk in front of him. And again, some of these girls as young as 14. Here's a photo of what the actual competition looked like from the 1991 look of the year. This was from the Guardian's report on it. Let me read for you what they said, what happened the night before the event. Then I'm going to show you some of the video that we've been able to locate at the Midas Touch Network. So this was a photo from the Guardian article, a still from a previously unseen footage of the 1991 Look of the Year finale. Their articles from about 10 years ago or so. Teen models, powerful men, and private dinners when Trump hosted Look of the Year. It's actually from 2020. In the early 1990s, Donald Trump judged the world's biggest modeling competition, since hit by allegations of abuse. This is how people who were there remember it. On September 1st, 1991, a large private yacht cruised toward the Statue of Liberty. It was a clear, breezy evening, and from the upper deck of the Spirit of New York, a golden sunset could be seen glinting off the Manhattan skyline. Downstairs, a party was in flow. Scores of teenage girls in evening dresses and miniskirts, some as young as 14, danced under disco lights. It could have been a high school prom were it not for the crowd of older men surrounding them. As the evening wore on, some of the men, many old enough to be the girls' fathers or even grandfathers, joined them on the dance floor, pressing themselves against the girls. One balding man in a suit wrapped his arms around two young models, underage girls, leering into the film camera that was documenting the evening. Can you get some beautiful women around me, please? The party aboard the Spirit of New York was one of several events that Donald Trump, then 45, attended with a group of 58 aspiring young models that September. Again, mostly underage girls. And it talks about how this was part of the elite Look of the Year competition, elite model management was run by John Casablancas. He since died in 2013. So Casablancas' marriage to his second wife, Jeanette Christensen, ended in 1983 when it was revealed he was having an affair with a 15-year-old girl who he described as a woman child, is how he described the girls that he would be with. He called them woman child. This was, again, one of Donald Trump's best friends. And then he had a marriage to Aline Worlminger, who was a 17-year-old from the Look of the Year competition. A 2020 Guardian investigation into Elite's Look of the Year competition uncovered allegations from former contestants and industry insiders that these competitions, the events that I'm about to show you that Trump attended as well, were used by Casablancas and others to engage in sexual relationships with vulnerable young models, some of whom were teenagers. The allegations range from sexual harassment, exploitation, and in some cases rape. The investigation highlighted a culture where young girls, often aged 14 to 18, were exposed to older men in powerful positions at events like after parties where alcohol was served to minors. Okay. So now I
want to stop right there and just point something out. I want to bring across something my dad used to tell me all the time. He would say, you got to be careful about the kind of company you keep. That's something my dad told me from the time I was young. He would always be like, if you hang around people who are known thieves, then everyone is going to think that you're a thief. If you hang around people who are into bad things, you're going to eventually end up in bad things. It's one of those old sayings. It's one of my favorite old sayings. I say it all the time to my kids. I say, if you sit in the barber shop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. And what that means is if you go in a barbershop and just sit around and hang around and talk to people, eventually that barber's going to convince you to go ahead and get in the chair. And I learned that kind of thing the hard way, folks, because I've talked openly here on the channel about my years of partying, my years of addiction. I've talked about it openly. And the one thing that I learned when I walked away from all of that was that I had to cut ties with the people that I was hanging around with, because there's no way you're ever going to get clean or get better if you're going back and hanging out in the same places. You can't. So you have to be very careful of the company you keep. Donald Trump keeps that kind of company. You heard the numbers, 14, 15-year-old girls. That's the kind of company he keeps with men who does that. Now sits back and says, oh, I would never do that. Again, I ain't saying he's guilty because I don't really have to. He looks guilty as shit, and we're going to keep rolling with a little bit more of this video, but again, I highly recommend you go watch it. Hidden Trump videos found by Meiselas as Secret Surface. And man, as the Secret Surface, it just gets worse for Trump, and he looks more guilty by the minute. So let's keep rolling with a few more minutes of this video.
I have the videotape of the Look of the Year 1991 competition. I have the full event. It's too hard to watch. If you want me to post it, I'll post it on another thread. But let me just show you some of the lowlights of this event. This is what happened. And you can see that these are young girls. These are little girls dressed like in very little clothing, dancing, and just watch for yourself. Let's play it.
The Look of the Year contest is the ultimate contest for women that want to go all the way in the modeling business. Featuring 58 of the world's most beautiful young women competing for more than $700,000 in prizes. Wow. The chance of a dream come true. Career as one of modeling's superstars. We'll take you behind the scenes and onto the runway. You'll see the fun, feel the excitement. You'll pick your favorite, along with our panel of expert and celebrity judges. You'll enjoy front row VIP seating at our gala evening. One of these contestants will be selected as the Girls Look of the Year.
And then here's another clip where it talks, and you heard Donald Trump there as well. So here's another clip right here of the kind of pre-competition to get into the finals, if you will, and just watch how creepy this is. Here, play this clip.
58 contestants participated in an exhaustive round of personal interviews designed to help our judges discover what makes each one special.
Your 5-9 reading? Serious, huh?
We may measure it again tonight before again.
Okay. Thank you very much, Amy.
The concentration was intense inside the judging room.
They don't like you as you are.
And out.
I'm just so excited.
Each girl was considered not only for her beauty and poise, but also for her personality and that indefinable something extra that makes a top model.
Okay, you want to pull your hair back 1 second? Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Edith. Good luck for tonight.
Thank you.
When it came time to choose the 21 finalists, emotions ran high as each judge expressed his or her opinion.
The possible finalists.
You said she was the best, and I said, yeah.
Non, je te dis non, je te trouve.
All right, folks, I'm gonna go ahead and stop it right there. And like I said, I highly encourage that you go ahead and watch the entire video. But I want to tell you what was going through my mind as I saw that. And Ben's right; it is super creepy. But what was going through my head as I saw that is I remember back in the day when that type of thing was all over television, and I remember when you saw that type of thing on mainstream TV all the time, and back in those days when that was being played on mainstream TV constantly, I remember going to church and hearing my minister preach against everything that you just seen. Talk about how bad it was, talk about how that no one should be engaged in that type of behavior. And they absolutely would just guilt trip and shame anyone who dressed in any provocative way at all. They was so hardcore down on it and so against it. And they turned around. We went from back then where they preached against that kind of thing constantly, and they preached against that kind of rich and lavish lifestyle that Donald Trump is living. They preached against that. They called those things sins of the flesh. They talked about all those things. I remember hearing so many, what we call in these parts, we call them hellfire and brimstone sermons. That's what they call them around here, because the preachers get so worked up. They're sweating, they're slinging spit, they're running across the stage. I mean, it is absolutely, it's a show. I mean, it's definitely something to see if you've never seen it. But it's entertainment, that's all it is. I have no belief in it whatsoever. But they always would preach so hard against that very type of thing. They would preach so hard against that very type of thing. And then you fast forward all these years later, they elected the man behind that shit twice. They were willing to look past everything that Ben uncovered in that video. They were willing to look past so much more when it came to this guy. They were willing to give him a pass for everything that they used to try to make us feel guilty for. Going back earlier in the video when I was talking about my years, playing music and playing out in bars, I was guilt tripped constantly for doing that. It was a constant guilt trip from the ministers who now stand on their altar and preach for that guy and encourage their followers, because they're all cults. Their followers. They encourage their followers to go vote for that garbage, for that type of garbage. And they want to make me feel guilty because I played some Waylon Jennings songs pretty loud one night and got drunk while doing it. I mean, it's so... That's why I'm just going to be brutally honest. And sometimes after I'm done with the video, I go, damn, should I really have said that? I have no apologies for what I'm about to say. There is no way in hell, no pun intended, that I would ever return to any of the churches around here and walk to their altar and bow my knee in front of those people. There's no way. If I ever decide to come to Jesus, folks, it will happen on my own watch. It will happen when I want to. It will happen between me and Jesus, and you or no one else will know nothing about it, because I'd be damned if I would ever walk into a building where people preaches for that guy and encourages people to vote for that man after all the guilt trips they've laid on people, after all the shaming that they've done, and after all the accusations that they've laid on everybody else. They always want to sit and say, oh, you all are the groomers, you all are the pedophiles. I get called that shit every day just because I vote Democratic, just because I don't stand for Donald Trump and I'm willing to shout him down. And every day I get shit like that thrown at me constantly. They're oh, drag queens, don't take your kid to a drag show. The drag queen's a pervert, blah, blah, blah. There's the perverts. They voted for him 3 times. So if I ever decide to come to Jesus, I'll do it. And I might tell you about it after it's over. I might tell you what me and him said. I'll especially tell you if he comes down on a cloud, splits the sky, and talks to me. I'll be the first one to tell you. But I'll be damned if I'm ever walking into those buildings and bowing my knee in front of those people. There is no way that I would ever give them the satisfaction of doing that. They don't deserve it, and they're a cancer on society. And I truly feel that way. It's not, sometimes people says, Brando, did you mean that? Yes, I did. I put out what I put out into the world. Like I said, I walked away from my day job. I've been doing this for 2 years. I put it out there, and as time goes on, my opinions could easily change on certain things. I'm sure you could go back and find videos of me talking about something 2 or 3 years ago where I may have changed a stance or changed an idea once that new evidence surfaced. That's what I go on as evidence. But MAGA doesn't. They had all this evidence in front of them for years. All this stuff was out there. It was there for years. You can go and watch that entire video, and you can get into all the interviews he did with Howard Stern. I used to watch Howard Stern back in the day. I used to sit up late to watch him come on at 11 o'clock on E. I remember those episodes with Trump. I remember Trump sitting there laughing about Lindsay Lohan. I remember all those things. We all seen it with our own eyes. It was right there in front of us. That's the part that drives me nuts about this. And then, Kamala's got a funny laugh. Biden's got a stutter. I've said it before. I say it all the time. I'll be an old man. I'll be sitting on the porch just watching the wheels go by. I might not even remember my own name. I might not even remember anything that I ever did in this world. But somewhere in the back corners of my mind, I'll be going, how in the fuck did poor people around here that believed in Jesus Christ and thought he died for their sins, how in the fuck did they get behind that guy? How did they get behind that guy? And if there is a day of judgment, I'm going to make sure before I get in line that I have my popcorn ready. I hope they sell popcorn in the day of judgment because we're going to need it.